Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting today, Wednesday, February 23rd. No, it's not February. 23rd. Today is June. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting today, Wednesday, February 23rd. No, it's June 23rd, right? 29th? 29th, 2022. I call the meeting to order at 5:32. At this time, I will continue with the roll call. Ms. Gilpas, Ms. Garcia, Mr. Ocampo,
Here.
Mr. Mercado,
Here.
Mr. Jimenez. Mr. Connie, can you please lead us with the flag salute?
Please stand. Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic that one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Connie. Do we have any spotlight items today, Mr. Connie?
No, there are no spotlights today.
Okay. And now we will adopt the agenda. I need a motion to adopt the agenda, please. Mrs. Gilpas. Second,
Second.
Mrs. Garcia. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed by 5 votes. Thank you. Okay. Now, we have a presentation following the tragic Robert Elementary School shooting in Uvalde, Texas. I believe it would be the importance of invite our Salinas Chief of Police to come and present to us about the police department readiness to respond to active shooter situation in schools. Today, we are honored to welcome and have Salinas Chief of Police, Roberto Felice, presenting for our Alisal community.
Good evening, Mr. President. Thank you for having me. Roberto Felice, your Chief of Police. To your comment about the national narrative about school shootings and unfortunately shootings in general, and the school response, the police response to school shootings. I'm here, one, to answer any questions that you might have, anything that needs to be clarified. I can tell you that Salinas Police Department has been trained just like any other police department in Monterey County, that as we are first responders, as soon as the call comes out, one, we encourage people to call 911 right away, let us know what's going on. We're going to respond to the school immediately. Our average response time so far for priority 1 calls, which is this will be a priority 1 call, it's between 2 to 3 minutes. So within 2 or 3 minutes, hopefully, hopefully we never have to experience any of that. But should we experience anything like that, we respond to the school. Our first and only obligation, not more than an obligation, our first focus is going to be to find the threat and stop the threat. So we're going to try to figure out where the shots are coming from, and that's what we're going to pursue. We don't wait, and I'm not going to comment on what happened in Uvalde because I don't have all the facts, and it wouldn't be fair for me to make any comments because I don't know how they're trained, what their policies are. I have no idea, but I can tell you, your police department comes to the school, and we immediately go search for the person that is actively shooting. Whether we have 1 officer, 2 officers, or 10 officers, we go in. We don't wait. We don't wait for SWAT. We don't assemble outside and wait and see what happens. Eventually, SWAT is going to come. Eventually, everybody's going to come to help. Immediately, our officers are going to pursue the person that is that's actually causing the threats, and our sole job is to stop the threats and save as many lives as possible. That's pretty much is our policy of the police department. And again, it's actually the policy of any other agency in Monterey County. So that's what you can expect from your Salinas Police Department. We're also very fortunate because a lot of our patrol officers are also SWAT operators. So they're SWAT operators as a collateral duty. So you have them out on patrol and we carry additional breaching tools. So if we come across doors, just like it happened in Uvalde, that they said the door was locked, wasn't locked. I have no idea. I wasn't there. Nothing stops us. I can tell you, truly as a police chief, if I was to come to a school and the door was locked, I'm going to shoot my way through that door. It doesn't make a difference. My city manager can buy you a new door after we're done with everything, but I'm not going to let a door stop me. Again, I'm not making any comments or any reference to what happened in Uvalde because I wasn't there and I don't want to comment on that, but I can tell you from the Salinas Police Department perspective, that's what we're going to be doing when we show up. We're going to go in, we're going to find the threat, and we're going to stop the threat. That's about as simple, as blunt as I can put it out there. Because I want to make sure that there are no misunderstanding or any expectations. It's like, well, that's not very clear. No, that's what you can expect us to do. Are there anything that I can answer for you? Any questions that I can answer for you?
Ms. Gilpas?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much. And congratulations for your work. I think I've seen you tow cars, give tickets. You're really active out in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chief Felice, do you think it's probable that in the near future, the school districts and the police department may start to have the conversation with school resource officers again?
My office is always open. I welcome any conversation that involves partnering up with the schools. Absolutely. I welcome that any given day with any schools. You're welcome.
Mr. Ocampo?
Yeah, I don't know if the question is for you, Roberto, or if it's for, might be for our staff. I'm not sure. But I am curious, when principals call the police department, is there a designated person or who do they usually talk to when they're when they need a police officer to come to the school?
For an active shooter event, they would call 911 immediately.
Yes.
And now for routine events, suspicious person in front of the school, they probably would call 911 also. For something that's not an emergency, we have a non-emergency number for Salinas PD, and that's the number they call.
Thank you.
Mrs. Garcia?
Thank you for that reassuring message, Mr. Felice. So is there anybody in your site that works with schools to either review or give input on school safety plans? I know years ago, as a former principal, that was kind of one of the requisites that we were supposed to meet with somebody from police department and or fire department to review our site safety plans so that it looked like, it made sense, because a lot of times it was jargon that was police jargon more than it was school jargon, I guess. So is there anybody now in your police department that has designated to review school safety plans?
Thank you for that question. Yes, the
You're
answer is
welcome.
yes.
Oh,
I
there
have
is.
designated Commander Warner. Commander Warner actually oversees the program for active shooter training. He and his staff they have done active shooter training in schools. They've done it in the private sector also. And thanks to Mr. Koenig, he's been very active in meeting with us to discuss exactly that. It's like, hey, let's review the plans. Let's make any changes that we have to make before an emergency happens. And, hope to God that we never have to use those plans. But the time that we need them, it's not the time that we need to be reviewing them. We
Right.
need to have reviewed them before. So absolutely, we will always meet with the schools to review any safety plans or any concerns that you might have and make suggestions.
Uh-huh. I have one more question, and I don't even know if you can answer it because, okay, so principals, the commander, one of the incident commander, or designee. So principal is locked in, locked down, locked in. So when you come on campus, how do you kind of find people that are in charge. I'm sorry. I mean,
No,
because
absolutely.
they're not going to post it into command center because this is like an active.
So when we
issue.
come to the school, so we have to differentiate the two situations. If it's an active shooter, we don't care to find anybody in charge.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
No, but that makes sense.
The only thing that my officers care about is where are the gunshots coming from, and that's where we're going.
Okay,
That's the only thing we're pursuing. If it's another type of incident that doesn't require us to be active in responding, where we can actually set up an incident command post, we have phone numbers for principals, for superintendents that we can reach out to say, hey, who do you want us to talk to? When we come on scene and we set up any form of incident command, we actually take over the scene. So we don't really reach out to anybody other than let's figure out what we're going to do, what we have. And we normally reach out to the superintendent to get us in contact with the person or the number 2 or the number 3. So in your, based on your scenario, if the principal is locked up and cannot communicate with us, we go to the
Doesn't
number
matter.
2 that they tell us, or the number 3 or number 4, whomever we need to speak and have them at our incident command so that they can provide us, with the information that we need to have.
very nice. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for that reassuring message. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Mr. Mercado?
Thank you for being here, Officer.
My pleasure.
This question relates to Mrs. Garcia's question. The district has been receiving active shooter trainings for many years using Kimball and Associates
Yes.
for training and implementation. Has your department been able to review those protocols and procedures?
Yes. So Mr. Kimball, before he retired and started doing all of this, he was a commander. He was actually my commander when I was a sergeant in Seaside, so I know him very well. I know what they present, and we pretty much it's called something different, what we do, but it's parallel to what they do. So yes,
So it's aligned?
it does.
Another question? No?
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the
Chief,
opportunity.
appreciate-
We are at your disposal anytime you need us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Then we continue. The public comments concerning items on the open session agenda and or not agenda items. There will be a 2-minute limit for individuals and 20 minutes limit to total public comments. There is a no setting of one's times to other individuals. Individuals wishing to address the Board of Trustees on open session agenda item and or other items may do so at this time. The start time, 5:46. Okay, first, Alma Loredo.
Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes, miembros de la mesa directiva, presidente Jiménez, superintendente Connie. Mi nombre es Alma Loredo. Soy madre de 3 niños que asistieron a este distrito. Soy la organizadora de VHC, Comité Padres Unidos del Condado de Monterrey. Gracias por el espacio. Quiero pedirles esta tarde su compromiso, ya que ahora más que nunca los padres necesitamos ser incluidos y auténticamente involucrados en los procesos del distrito y las escuelas. Los felicitamos por haber obtenido la subvención del Estado de California para escuelas comunitarias. Los pilares de escuelas comunitarias serán los que sostengan la transformación de nuestras escuelas y comunidades y el futuro de nuestros niños. Les entregamos un juego que incluye información de herramientas que ayudan a entender el proceso de planeación de escuelas comunitarias, ya que consideramos que la preparación será crucial para comenzar a diseñar lo que será el parteaguas en la educación. En este juego incluye detalles de nuestra abogacía en el Estado, ya que esto fue crucial para darle forma a esta beca. También hemos incluido el espectro de involucramiento comunitario que VHC ha desarrollado en colaboración con la comunidad. La intención de esto es que estemos preparados y equipados, tanto ustedes, miembros, junto con su gabinete, nosotros los padres y comunidad. Queremos alinear los esfuerzos y ser parte del equipo con ustedes. VHC Padres Unidos, les pedimos ser parte del grupo que va a desarrollar el plan de escuelas comunitarias. En las escuelas comunitarias, diseñadas efectivamente, tendrán como resultado escuelas más seguras, respaldadas por relaciones de confianza y prácticas restaurativas. Queremos su compromiso de incluir organizaciones como VHC para la colaboración externa, ya que somos los expertos en educación e involucramiento comunitario en el desarrollo, diseño, implementación y sostenibilidad. Es una oportunidad que sabemos ustedes tomarán porque están comprometidos con los estudiantes y las familias. Sugiero que seamos proactivos y prevenir que surjan situaciones que pongan en riesgo a nuestros niños en las aulas. Los padres pedimos que el distrito presente su plan de seguridad escolar a los padres y a la comunidad y darles la oportunidad de reunir expertos en cada área para actualizarlo.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Good afternoon, board members, President Jimenez, Superintendent Koenig. My name is Alma Loredo. I'm the mother of 3 children who attended this district. I am the organizer of VHC Committee Padres Unidos, Monterey County. Thank you for this space. I would like to request this afternoon your commitment because now more than ever, we the parents need to be included and involved authentically in the process the district has and its schools. We congratulate you for having obtained the grant for the community schools in California. The pillars of these schools, community schools that will sustain these schools and the transformation of our schools and communities and the future of our children. I turn into you a set that includes information of tools that help understand the process, the planning process for these schools, the community schools, because we consider that preparation will be crucial to start designing what would be a great divide in education, a new chapter in education. This set includes details that our advocacy at state level has done because this was crucial to shape this grant. We've also included the spectrum of community involvement that BHC has developed in collaboration with the community. The intention of this is that we want to be prepared and equipped as the way we want to be a part of this with your cabinet, with the parents and community. We want to align the efforts and be part of this team with you, VHC Parents Unidos. We ask that to be part of this group that is going to be developing the plan of community schools. Community schools, when they are designed effectively, will have as a result schools that are more secure, that are backed by relationships of trust and restorative practices. We want your commitment to include organizations such as BHC to collaborate externally because we are the experts in education and involvement community. And design and development, implementations, and sustainability, it's an opportunity that we know you have taken seriously because you are committed with your students and families. I suggest that we're proactive to prevent that situations that risk our families and our children and adults. We ask that the district present its plan, security plan, to the parents and the community to give opportunity to gather experts in each area of the plan to make it current and include the parents because we're also experts. We also think if in addition to allowing us to give our recommendation in the plan and for us to be taken into consideration, this process will bring transparency that we consider is necessary for all the processes that involve education of the children and involve the changes in culture that promote security in schools. We want to be proactive and nourish our children, creating a climate that is healthy and secure where they belong and they are free from punishment. We want shared power in the development and implementation of decisions with respect.
Thank you. Maria Sanchez.
Muy buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es María Sánchez, proveedora de cuidado infantil en la educación temprana, madre de 6 hijos, vicepresidenta del Concilio Escolar de Alizal. Hoy Padres Unidos me ha dado el privilegio de entregar un reconocimiento a una persona muy especial que durante años estuvo en colaboración con Padres Unidos, dándonos la oportunidad de ser parte del Concilio Escolar del Distrito de Alizal, como es Alma Loredo como presidenta y a mí como vicepresidenta. Durante esos años, siendo también parte de DILAC, nos dio todo el apoyo en colaboración con Padres Unidos. Siempre tomó su tiempo y espacio con mucho amor, respeto y vocación. Siempre estuvo abierta a colaborar con Padres Unidos y apoyarnos en todo. Solicitó nuestro apoyo y presencia en diferentes actividades como ELCAP, juntas de información y mucho más. Por eso y por muchas otras cosas, hoy Padres Unidos le entrega un merecido reconocimiento a la doctora Delia Gómez. Vemos que no se encuentra en este momento, pero con todo nuestro corazón le hacemos este reconocimiento. Hoy por su amor, dedicación, paciencia y por años de trabajo en el distrito de Alizal, deseándole todas las bendiciones de Dios y en su nuevo camino y metas que realice, deseamos Dios le bendiga. Atentamente, Padres Unidos.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Sanchez. I provide childcare in early learning. I'm the mother of 6 children. I'm the vice president of the school council in Alizal. Today, Padres Unidos has the privilege of recognize a person, a very special person that for many years was collaborating with Padres Unidos, giving us the opportunity to be part of the school council, the district council. Alma Loredo as a president and me as vice president. During these years, being also part of DLAC, she also gave us all the support in collaboration with Padres Unidos. She always took the time and space with a lot of love and respect, always was willing to collaborate with Padres Unidos and support us in everything. She sought our help and presence in different activities such as LCAP, the information meetings, and a lot more. That's why for that and many other things, today Padres Unidos presents a very deserved recognition to Dr. Delia Gomez for her love, dedication, patience, and for the years that she worked at the Distrito Alizal School District. We wish her all the blessings, God blessings, and in its new journey and goals that she be able to achieve them. May God bless her and Padres Unidos. Love, dedication, patience, and for the
Thank you. When we move to number 4, a board member and superintendent report. Mr. Mercado.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Well, I want to report that several colleagues and myself attended in-person LEO conference.
Oh,
Uh,
Mr. I missed one.
Oh,
Sorry. I missed the letter C. I'm sorry. On the number 3, letter C, association comments, Alizal Teacher Association. I'm sorry, Mr. Pastoriza. Mr. Mercado, sorry.
No problema. Good evening, Mr. Koenig, board members and cabinet. I'm Pastoriza, president for ATA for this year. Well, this is the last board meeting of the year. It is also, the end of my first year as president. I just want to publicly acknowledge, that I really appreciate all you have done for the district. And I also want to more specifically, say thank you to the Mr. Koenig and the cabinet, because quite frankly, they were really, and not only Mr. Koenig, Mr. Cabrera, Mr. Abasi, Ms. Sanso, because throughout the year, they were willing to resolve our differences with nice conversation. And it's nice to find the middle ground, the compromise, and it's better for everybody, for the district. So thank you, everybody. I hope that you can take couple of weeks of vacation or something and come back in next month and let's start all over. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pastoriza. California School Employee Association, Chapter 577. No. United Substitute Teacher Union. No. Now, number 4. Board member and superintendent report. Mr. Mercado.
All right. I was saying that three other colleagues besides myself attended NALEO this year. It was posted in Chicago. The event brought together nearly 1,000 Latino electeds from across the country and across the aisles to facilitate the meaningful exchange of ideas and look towards solutions amongst the more pressing issues. Among the notable attendees was Mayor Lightfoot of Chicago, Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona, and Vice President Kamala Harris. For me personally, I felt energized to see a large gathering of people just waiting to do positive things for their own distinct communities. And, and sharing with them what we've been doing at Alisal and them reciprocating what they would be doing at their respective districts and cities and counties. We figured out we have a lot of things to do, but in many respects, we're ahead of the game here at Alisal. So that's hard to see when you don't go to these types of conference for most people, but it was very liberating to see that we are ahead, and having our support with our family resource centers, for instance, investing in social emotional learning, having counselors at the elementary level for each school. So, I do want to thank the staff for making all this possible as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Ocampo.
Yeah, I was also there with Mr. Mercado at the NALEO conference. I think it went from June 22nd to June 25. One of the speakers was U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona. And before being appointed by President Biden, he was a 4th grade teacher, a school principal, and an assistant superintendent. So he spoke about the important job that teachers do. And Cardona's call to action for educators was to fight complacency with the same passion you fought COVID. That's kind of a quote from the Secretary of Education. I attended a workshop called Upskilling Latinos in the Digital Age. Upskilling, I guess, means getting their skills up. The speaker was Linda Vasquez, who is the Assistant Vice Chancellor for State and Federal Relations. She works for the California Community Colleges. Linda spoke about a particular act, which is the Digital Equity Act, that will provide $1.5 billion to the states to increase broadband internet connections, especially in low-income areas. Each state will be required to submit a plan to receive funding. Hopefully, some of these funds can trickle down to our district by working with state representatives or by working with the California Broadband Council, which was established to promote broadband deployment in unserved and underserved areas of the state. Also, locally, we have one of our supervisors, Chris Lopez, has been doing some good work. He's working on a project that will bring broadband to the South County and to migrant camps in the Salinas area, like San Gerardo, for example. It's my understanding that Superintendent Dan Burns and others are at the table. We might consider joining them, just something to put out there. We were also honored by the presence of Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States. Kamala stated that people of color have always pushed forward for equity because as a group, we believe that we can achieve our goals by working to obtain them. She also stated that we must support our communities on issues of childcare, elder care, prescription drugs, and create a pathway for citizenship for dreamers and farm workers. She further stated that it is a tragedy, and I emphasize the word, tragedy, that we cannot and have not been able to create a pathway to legal citizenship for dreamers. We have dreamers that are teachers, university students who work in the fields, who work in the Fortune 500 companies and who are in the military. And then upon leaving the conference, we had the good fortune of running into the Reverend Jesse Jackson, the iconic civil rights leader. And my wife took a picture with him, and that was really cool. So it was a good conference. We did meet a lot of people, listen to a lot of workshops on a varied number of topics, and I don't have time to explain all the workshops to you, but we thoroughly enjoyed it. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ocampo. Ms. Garcia? No? No? Mrs. Gilpas? No? Okay. And then I have a special thanks to Mrs. Rosa Carranza and to all her team for the excellent job with the summer school sport program. We enjoy seeing our students enjoy their Saturdays playing soccer. Also, I want to congratulate our summer school teachers and classified staff for their work and dedication. Mr. Connie?
I just want to second what you had to say about summer school. The LSL Space Camp is about to finish its third week. It will be ending 1 week from Friday on the 8th of July. It's been a terrific experience for the kids who have been involved in it. They're doing a lot of projects, science projects related to the phases of the moon and other things. They're using Legos to develop habits of cooperation with their peers. And it really is, they're having fun and they're learning while they're having fun. It's been great. So I encourage the board to go out there and take a look at what they're doing at all the school sites.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Connie. Okay, we consent agenda. We need a motion to consent agenda.
So moved.
Mrs. Gilpas,
I'll second.
Mr. Mercado, Any
As,
comment or questions?
as an, there is excuse me. There is a blue sheet for the minutes.
Okay,
And the blue sheet reflects the correction of the minutes for Board Member Jimenez, changes from Vice President to President.
okay, perfect. Thank you. Another, okay, Ms. Garcia?
So I just, quick comment, or question even, school plans, the SIPSAs, who helps the principals, develop those SIPSAs? Is there support for them? Yeah, or is it, whose department or?
Ms. Monica.
Yes, so it's actually Dr. Gomez and Dr. Hernandez. Dr. Gomez, as the Director of Educational Equity, leads the state and federal programs. So that's one of the pieces for compliance. So she is the one that gives them the.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the SIPSAs and thank you for all those principals that put countless hours into those SIPSAs. There's just a few little things that probably need to just be done in the future. And it kind of goes hand in hand with parents, right? Because at the last page on the SIPSA is where you find, the signature pages, and those signature pages are, and maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, because honestly, I haven't been doing SIPSAs for 3 years. But, the signature pages are, ensure that the principals have met with the school site councils and ELACs, and that, that they were presented and they, were in agreement with the SIPSAs. And I saw that a lot of the SIPSAs didn't have those signatures, and some of the school site councils were not configured correctly with the right amount of teachers and or people. So, I mean, food for thought, if you're going to turn in SIPSas, please make sure you have those signatures. I think because right now you're supposed to be assuring that they did go through ELAC, that they were presented there, that parents had input, that they were also presented through the school site council. And when you don't have those signatures of the presidents from those two groups, and you only have the principal's signature, it just kind of makes it look like, okay, well, I mean, I'm assuming they did it, but it just, I would like in the future to make sure that those signatures are there. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gilpas?
Yes, thank you. I just had a comment and I'm gonna request information on, not for this meeting, but for either another meeting or it's gonna be up to how we get that information, but on agenda items, agreements with Storm Educational Enterprise. There's 3 schools that we're gonna approve using Storm tonight. So, and it's my understanding that 8 out of 12 of our schools use that.
Yes, that's correct.
And so I just, and maybe it's good that it's only 8 out of 12. But what are the other 4 using? And how effective is Storm? Why aren't the other ones using it? And it seems like a couple of meetings ago, we've been voting for a lot of different, there doesn't seem to be any consistency in the educational tools that we're using for our students and in the school sites. So maybe that's a good thing, I don't know, but I would like to be a little bit more educated on that. How many do we have for writing? How many do we have for reading, for math? And why do certain schools have certain ones? And is it normal not to have that consistency? Who chooses? Maybe it's the principals that select what program they're going to use. And if we have some that are effective, very effective, why aren't all of our schools using them? And I'm sure there are very good answers to those questions. I just want to know what they are. So at some point in the future, not now. It's too short
Okay.
notice. Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
All right.
Mrs. Anza.
Garcia? No? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda approved by 5 votes. We move to number 8, business services. I need a motion to approve adoption 2022-2023 budget.
So move.
I'll
Mr.
second.
Ocampo? Mr. Mercado, or Ms. Mercado? Thank you, Ms. Gildas. Any comments and question? No, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed by 5 votes. Okay, I need a motion for the salary schedule change, certified, classified, confidential, management, cabinet.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Mercado,
I'll second.
Mr. Ocampo. Any comments or question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed by 5 votes. I need to read the number 3 or just move to?
I think you just need to read it.
I need to read the number
That's
3.
the first reading.
I think we're. Including? Or first reading? Yeah, the first reading. Of the resolution, okay. Okay, let us see. The first reading of resolution 2122-30 for the insurances and sale of general obligation bond, Series B, including capital appreciation bond, AB 182 presentation and presentation of underwriting G17 disclosure. Number 9, educational services.
Mr. Kim,
Oh.
I have a comment.
Oh, you have a comment?
For the first reading, I was looking at Exhibit D, the proposed plan of finance. And there are 3 options that are given to the board. Can you expand why the district is recommending option number 1?
Actually, we have Miguel Rodriguez from our financial advisor is here, and he's ready to answer that question right now.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board. As, uh, as, uh, as noted, there are a series of options that are presented here as part of the disclosures regarding the issuance of bonds for Measure M. Those options present a comparison of how much in proceeds from Measure M would be available to the district if we assumed certain factors. And particularly, I think when I refer to factors, it's going back to the 2016 election, right? And the estimates that were provided to voters at that time. And so, as you know, under Measure M, there was $70 million in bonds that were authorized. In 2017, the district sold its first series of bonds in the amount of $38 million. And you've been diligently drawing down on those dollars to put to work in use of your projects to deliver your schools. And so at this moment, you have $32 million in unsold Measure M bonds today. And so back in 2016, at that time, given certain estimates of what was happening with the local tax base, with real estate values and property taxes, the district estimated that it would cost $66.30 to repay the entire $70 million in bonds. And that $66.30 was per every 100,000 of assessed property value that would go to repay those bonds. And so, long-winded answer, but if we hold constant that $66.30, we estimate that we would be able to generate the entire $32 million in bonds using a combination of different types of bonds. Those are called capital appreciation bonds and current interest bonds, no different than what the district has utilized in the past, and certainly within certain guidelines that are prescribed by state legislation for the use of those types of bonds. And so the option A, if you can refer to the exhibit D, the option A refers to that combination of bonds. Option two, I should say option one refers to the combination of bonds. Option two also delivers those bonds, except that in this case, now we start relaxing some of those assumptions. In this case, we say, what if we were to issue bonds using a different type of structure? In this case, we find that the required tax rate would exceed the $66.30, just slightly higher, okay? However, as a whole, in terms of overall costs, right, once we repaid those bonds over time, fully amortized, kind of like a mortgage, right, over 30, 35 years, the overall financing cost would be just slightly less, okay? So again, the give and take here is that we would pay a little bit more upfront. I think here we're estimating that tax rate would increase to about $75 or so. It's $74.82 at the highest level. And averaging over time, just slightly greater than $66.30 that we're estimating. But again, the savings would be realized over the entire financing. So that was the second option that we thought, okay, well, if we could pay a little bit more today, would it save us more over time? The answer is yes. So we looked at that. Then the third option says, okay, what if we now hold constant that $66.30 that was estimated at the time of the election? However, we only want to use a certain type of bond that usually is a little bit more, is less expensive, okay? And in this case, we saw that we would not be able to get all $32 million in the remaining Measure M authorization. In this case, we were only generating about $24.8 million, which is not necessarily a bad thing, except that, it just allows us to then come back at a later time to issue the remainder. And obviously what's driving here is really a combination of things. The district's need, certainly, and I think that based on certain guidelines by federal the IRS and such, and certain limits in terms of how much any entity, municipal entity, should issue in bonds. I think it's the general rule of thumb is whatever it is that you reasonably expect to expand within a 3-year period. And so the funding horizon is pretty far out, and we're retooling our project needs today. But as noted, this is for informational purposes at this time. Our goal is to come back at your next meeting in July, and at that point, we would present a final plan of finance that applies the current interest rates based on the prevailing market. Okay, but again, a long-winded wait, and I hope that covers the sort of the options presented. Today we are not locking into one particular option or the other, but we're trying to provide the entire sort of menu of possibilities that are available to the district. Again, assuming that we would want to lock in rates where they are now, given the trend. Currently we hear a lot of the market headline news that interest rates are continuing to increase. And certainly we all kind of know what that means for the cost of borrowing to the district and the local taxpayer. So we want to make sure that we keep it as low as possible. Okay. Any additional questions?
Well, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. And the last part is segue to to a question from Mr. Koenig. Mr. Koenig, our prices are increasing day to day. We issued the $32 million. Would that be enough to complete our 2 school sites?
At this point, we believe we have enough money to complete the 2 projects.
Another question? No? Ms. Gilpas?
No, I just noticed we all turn around and look at Mr. Abbasi just to see. So, well, now that I'm at it,
Please.
so, there's a 3rd school in Measure M, isn't there? Just the renovation of the 2 schools?
Actually, the Measure M project list is several pages. There is another school, construction of a school in the construction of another school is in the Measure M project list. And there are also 30 or 40 other projects that we won't get to on the project list.
But when we started the bond, that building of that 3rd school was also included, wasn't it? If I
That
recall.
was one of our objectives. However, we're not going to have enough money to build the 3rd school.
That Fremont and Alisal community are in the.
Right.
Okay.
Now, there are also, between the time that Measure M was passed and now, there are other projects that have risen in priority. Since Measure M was passed, the district has tried to move to full-day kindergarten for all of our schools. And in order to do that, we need to build more kindergarten classrooms. Right now, we don't have enough kindergarten classrooms to accommodate all of our kindergarten classes and all of our new and growing number of transitional kindergarten classrooms. So one of the areas of projects that will take up a lot of the remaining Measure M funds is construction of, and we don't know the number because enrollment is declining. The number of kids who are actually going to transitional kindergarten right now is going, the participation rate is reduced. But we expect to need to build 50 or 60 new classrooms in order to accommodate the full-day kindergarten and transitional kindergarten program. So we'll come back to the board and ask for an approval of our priorities. But The priority right now that we see is construction of the new kindergarten classrooms. We just can't have kids in a classroom all day that's only 960 square feet and it doesn't have a bathroom.
Thank you. Other
Mr.
question?
Koenig, can I add one more thing?
Yes.
Mr. Koenig has been the driving force and the planning for everything. So Mr. Koenig actually has allocated $2 million from Mayor M for next school 13. The school 13 may not happen until maybe 10 years from now, but the planning happens now. I mean, all kinds of master plans have to be done. We have to talk to different agencies. So Mr. Koenig asked me to allocate $2 million for that planning. So we have enough money for those two projects, Elisel and Fremont. In addition, $2 million is set aside for school number 13.
Well, that's good to know, because I remember when we were out there talking to people, we said mainly the two schools, but we also had mentioned, you know, the third one. So it's good to know that we can respond to the community by saying other needs have come up that are important, but we have allocated some of those funds for that. That way we stay honest, because we need to be honest and transparent where the next time we may need a bond and keep that community trust. Thank you, Mr. Abbasi.
Thank you, Mr. Abbas. Thank you, Mrs. Gilpas. Now we ask for, well, no questions? Okay, no vote. Then go to number 9. A motion to approve adoption, local control and accountability plan, LCAP, for 2022-23. Ms. Gilpas?
Second.
Mr. Ocampo? Any comments or question? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed by 5 votes. Okay, now we are in number 10. And if you see, that is number 10, A, B, C, and D. They are regarding for one thing, right? And then I want to ask my colleagues if you have any questions about those A, B, C, and D to talk in the closed session. No? No questions?
Well, actually, I don't recall going over this when we went over the agenda, so I'm a little bit confused because I haven't been able to look over the information. So could you just review it?
Sure. Well, when I coordinated, actually, when we went over the agenda, I thought the only action that would have to be taken under administrative services was for the correction of the salary of our new Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. However, in coordinating that with our legal counsel, he advised that it would be necessary in order to implement the 5% raise across the board, including the members of cabinet, we would need a separate item, just the same as the approval of the contracts for the cabinet members, because that's what's required based on the Bell legislation in order to approve a contract employee's contract.
So which would bring the question, so for Mr. Cabrera, it would be only fair because is it retro?
Yes, this will affect him based on a retro.
So for Mr. Duran,
Mr. Duran, when Mr. Duran's contract was approved, the old salary schedule was in place. So if we're going to pay him in accordance with the salary schedule that the board just approved, we will need to change his contract. And it'll have to be publicly disclosed and the terms read.
Okay, so due to family illness, I wasn't able to go back to the agenda after you and I went for it. I mean, had reviewed it in the absence of the president. So maybe for next time when there is something like that, if you could just inform the board, that way we're not surprised or ask questions that we don't need to be asking in public.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Koenig.
thank you.
Okay. Then to continue, I want to invite to Mr. Coney to read the summary, please, Mrs. First, Mrs. Monica Anso, Associate Superintendent, Educational Service.
With regards to item 10A, the district will consider approving an amendment to two prior employment agreements entered into with Monica Anzo. The first was an Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services agreement effective July 1st, 2020. And the second is an Associate Superintendent of Educational Services agreement effective October 6th, 2021. This simple amendment only provides a retroactive salary increase and a one-time off-schedule payment. The amendment is in the spirit of increasing the compensation of all district employees, including employees who are not represented by bargaining units. Consistent with pay increases that represented staff have already received, Ms. Anzo will receive the following. For the term of July 1st, 2021 through October 5th, 2021, when Ms. Anzo was the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, she will receive the equivalent of the prorated difference between Step 5 of the prior Assistant Superintendent salary schedule and Step 5 of the updated Assistant Superintendent salary schedule, which is $8,952 prorated from July 1, 2021 through October 5, 2021, less all applicable deductions. For the term of October 6, 2021 to the present and moving forward, when Ms. Anzo has been the Associate Superintendent of Educational Services, she will receive the equivalent of the prorated difference between Step 4 of the prior Associate Superintendent salary schedule and Step 4 of the updated Associate Superintendent salary schedule, which is $8,935 prorated from October 6, 2021 to the present, less all applicable deductions. Ms. Anzo will additionally receive a one-time off-schedule payment in an amount equal to 5% of her 2020-2021 year base salary. The remaining terms of Ms. Anzo's employment as Associate Superintendent of Educational Services will be unaffected.
Okay. Consider 8, consideration and action regarding executive compensation. Monica Anso, Associate Superintendent, Educational Service. Motion to approve,
So moved.
Mr. Ocampo,
I
Mrs. Garcia.
I second it.
Any comments or question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed by 5 votes. Please, Mr. Coney, read the summary of Rais Abasi, Associate Superintendent, Business Services.
The district will consider approving an amendment to the prior employment agreement entered into with Rais Abasi for Associate Superintendent Business Services. This simple amendment only provides a retroactive salary increase. The amendment is in the spirit of increasing the compensation of all district employees, including employees who are not represented by bargaining units. Consistent with pay increases that represented staff have already received, Mr. Abasi will receive the following. For the term of October 25th, 2021 to the present, Mr. Abasi will receive the equivalent of the prorated difference between Step 4 the prior associate superintendent salary schedule, and step 4 of the updated associate superintendent salary schedule, which is $8,935 prorated from October 25th, or 2021 through the present, less all applicable deductions. The remaining terms of Mr. Abbasi's employment as Associate Superintendent of Business Services will be unaffected.
Letter B, consideration and action regarding executive compensation. Rais Abasi, Associate Superintendent, Business Services. Motion to approve. Mrs. Gilpas,
I'll second.
Mr. Mercado. Any comment or question? All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed by 5 votes. Mr. Koenig, please read the summary of Ricardo Cabrera, Associate Superintendent of Human Resources.
The district will consider approving an amendment to the prior employment agreement entered into with Ricardo Cabrera for Associate Superintendent Human Resources. This simple amendment only provides a retroactive salary increase and provides a one-time off-schedule payment. The amendment is in the spirit of increasing the compensation of all district employees, including employees who are not represented by bargaining units. Consistent with pay increases that represented staff have already received, Mr. Cabrera will receive the following. For the term of July 1, 2021 to the present, Mr. Cabrera will receive the equivalent of the prorated difference between step 5 of the prior Associate Superintendent salary schedule and step 5 of the updated Associate Superintendent salary schedule, which is $9,292 prorated from July 1st, 2021 through the present, less all applicable deductions. Mr. Cabrera will additionally receive a one-time off-schedule payment in the amount equal to 5% of his 2020-2021 base year salary. The remaining terms of Mr. Cabrera's employment as Associate Superintendent of Human Resources will be unaffected.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr.
make a
Mercado, second Mr. Ocampo. Any comment or question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes by 5 votes. And the last one, letter D, please, Mr. Koenig, read the summary of Arturo Duran, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources.
The district will consider approving an amendment to the prior employment agreement entered into with Arturo Duran for Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources. This simple amendment only affects his salary. The amendment is in the spirit of increasing the compensation of all district employees, including employees who are not represented by bargaining units. Consistent with pay increases that represented staff have already received, Mr. Duran will receive the following. Starting on July 1st, 2022, Mr. Duran's base salary will be at step 2 of the updated Assistant Superintendent salary schedule, which is $164,962 annually. The remaining terms of Mr. Duran's employment as Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources will be unaffected.
Motion to approve consideration and action regarding executive compensation, Arturo Duran, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources. Ms. Gilpas? Mrs. Garcia? Any comments or question? All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed by 5 votes. Thank you. Future agenda items. Any board member would like to add items to the future agenda? Ms. Gilpas?
excuse me, I think maybe that would be what my earlier request for information would be listed under, perhaps a board presentation on the different learning, tools that we're using district-wide. And, it doesn't have to be really soon, because I know that that falls under Mrs. Anso's, jurisdiction, and she has a full plate right now. It's the beginning of school, so no hurry on that, but maybe if we could, do it sometime before my term's over.
We're developing the schedule for which presentations will be made during school year 2022-23, and that will be included in the
Thank you.
schedule.
Thank you.
Ms. Garcia?
Okay, so along with that, if you could add, like, how are you measuring success for those programs? So how is that being measured? Because, yeah, just want to know that. That's enough.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Mr. Ocampo? No? Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking, dual immersions is such an important program, and, all of the research shows that it's very effective. Would that be one of the programs that would be presented under the different, I think, what was the wording? The different types of programs that were being used for our students?
So I think that's it's more of an instructional program, but we can always include something else that has to do on instructional programs.
Mhm.
I think what the request that's being made is more of the instructional tools. So anything that supports all our instructional programs is, because, for example, STORM, which was on our agenda today, that supports writing. So what schools have it, how is it being measured, with the process of why some schools and why not their schools, correct? Ms.
Yes,
Gonzalez? Is that-
yes.
Okay.
Could you include the dual immersions in that list or those programs?
We can include in presentations, and then if I can figure out how to present in 15 minutes, all of it, and that way, Mr. Koenig doesn't tell me, come off the mic. I can do that, but I can also, just for the questions and just to have that clarity, maybe start with one and then with the other. But I can
Okay.
try.
Yeah, if not, then we can maybe do it at some other time. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Number 12, public comments, closed session, agenda item only. There is, there will be a 2-minute limit for individuals and public comments and a 20-minute limit of total public comments. There is no setting of one's times to other individuals. Individuals wishing to address the Board of Trustees on closed session agenda items may do so at this time. Start time. Let me see. 6:41. 6:41. Ending time 6:42. I will now adjourn the meeting to closed session at 6:43. Thank you.